Welcome to the podcast. All right. Pilates for PTs, from business to clinical. Hi y'all, my name is Stephen Dunn. I co-own Core Therapy and Pilates in Austin, Texas, and I'm the founder of Pilates for PTs. I've been a physical therapist for over 20 years, and I've been teaching Pilates and gyrotonic in my physical therapy practice for the last 15 years. In this podcast, I interview experts from all over the world so that you can learn more on how to grow your business or how to improve your clinical skills as a Pilates instructor in the physical therapy world. Thanks for listening. All right. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Today, I'm super excited. I have someone in who is a Pilates instructor, who is a gyrotonic instructor, and a business owner for the past 6 years. And her name is Emily Hudson, right? Am I saying that right? Getting that right? So Emily Hudson, welcome to the podcast. And where are you streaming in from?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I am located in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay. North Carolina, but I was not sure, so I just thought I'd ask. Now, take a moment and introduce yourself and tell us a little about you and your story that led you to become a Pilates and gyrotonic instructor.
Yeah. So I have to start back in college. So I went to Appalachian State University, which is located in Boone, North Carolina. It's the western part of the state. And I was there for music therapy, actually. That is what my undergrad is in. I have a bachelor's degree in music therapy, and my instrument was voice. So I'm a singer and was on that track. Gonna be a professional music therapist. And while I was studying there, the director of the music therapy department and the director of the dance department happened to be very good friends. And the dance and theater department had just put together their first Pilates teacher training program, which is really unique that it's affiliated with the university. But because it was in its first iteration, they had, I think it was like 6 apprentice teachers and nobody for them to teach, because Boone is a college town. And so all the students disappear in the summer for the most part and are there during the school year. So that director called up my director and said, send me anybody. My girls need apprentice teaching hours and there's nobody for them to teach. So if you know of anybody that would like to come take Pilates, send them on down. And so she thought of me and was like, Emily, do you want to do Pilates? And I was like, sure, why not? Like, I was like waiting tables, doing summer school classes. I wasn't doing anything else. And so I went, and I had no prior experience with Pilates. I'd never done any kind of mat work or VHS tapes or anything like that. So the first time I walked in and got to do Pilates was on the equipment, one-on-one with a teacher in the classical style. And from that very first lesson, I was hooked. I loved it. And I went probably 3 to 5 times a week that very first summer. That was 2005. I was in 2005. Okay. So I did that all summer, and then knew that I wanted to get certified in Pilates through Appalachian State. So I went back to my director and I was like, so remember how you told me to go do Pilates? Well, now I want to do that too. Can we work this out with my schedule? Because obviously she was my director and she helped organize all my classes and made sure that I was on track to graduate on time and all of that. So she was all for it. She was like, yeah, let's figure this out. So we revamped my schedule so that when I graduated in 2007, I graduated with my music therapy degree and my classical Pilates teacher training certificate. So it takes about 2 years to get that through ASU.
That's awesome that it's in an undergrad program. It's, I've heard of a few physical therapy schools that have an elective program to get certified through while they're in PT school, but that's the first I've heard about it being an undergrad. And I think that's awesome. The more people that can get exposed and the more ways that they have the ability to get trained, then the more people can be exposed to the work. So I think that's fantastic. And it's interesting. It doesn't matter if it's a small town or not, right? It's a movement system that once people find it and they either like it or they don't. And you're the very common example of like, I love this. That's the first time. I don't even know why I love this. Maybe you knew why. I know when I first did it, I didn't understand why I loved it. I just knew that it was something. It was, for me, it was more about, I can share this with my patients. And because it changed my body, and it was such a fast change of my body and how I stood and my posture, that I'm like, all right, I can share this with people. And that was my passion and joy, because what I learned in PT school wasn't really getting me what I wanted to get with helping my clients, and having that Pilates experience on top of it to offer that was such a game changer. And again, my clients, some of them love it immediately and some of them don't, but they know that it's a part of the process to get them better. But I love that story. Now, how many people do you think a year would get certified through this program? A couple people, 5 people, 10 people?
It's a big commitment. And there's a big summer intensive. So it's a 3-month summer intensive where you're in the studio 8 to 12 hours a day. And so I think that right off the bat, like, eliminates a lot of people. So they don't pump out a lot of teachers, and they don't do it every year. It's a 2-year thing. So it takes a while to do it. So they used to do it every odd year. So it was 2005, 2007, 2009, etc. And then at some point, there weren't enough participants, and then it switched to the even years, and so it gave these people an additional year. And so, it's changing and it's morphing. Especially now with everything that's going on in the world right now, I have no idea what the Pilates teacher training program looks like at Appalachian State currently. But I would say, it's real small, like 5 to 10 people at a time go through this program.
So when you finished this program, you started in 2005 and you finished in 2007. What was the first step that you took to start teaching the work? Did you start teaching classes for somebody? Did you start going to a little gym and teaching on the side, or what? Tell me a little bit about that kind of first teacher's experience.
Yeah. So I graduated and I followed my, at the time, fiance, now husband, to Cleveland, Ohio. And I had gotten an internship there for music therapy, and he was working there professionally as a music therapist, and he had been up there already. So when I moved up there, he had this welcome to Cleveland box with all of these fun things of we're going to live in Cleveland and look at all these cool things we can do together. It was really sweet. And inside the box was a list of Pilates studios for me to go and apply and start teaching, because I had literally just graduated.
Got it.
And so I called up in Spiral Motion, which is Lisa Lansing's studio. I don't know if you know who Lisa Lansing is, but she's a master trainer.
Yeah.
And I called her up and I said, I just graduated and I'm doing an internship here and I would love to work nights and weekends. And she was like, come on down. So I auditioned with her. As I'm sure you know, they want to see you teach, and they want to see how you interact with people and what your style is. And she hired me. So my very, very first job teaching Pilates was at Lisa's studio in Spiral Motion in Cleveland. And I taught only Pilates at that studio, which confuses people because I do teach gyrotonic now. But at the time that I was at her studio, I did not teach gyrotonic. And so she's still a wonderful mentor to me, and someone that I go to for training and advice and things like that. And we're still very close. So sometimes people think that she was my master trainer, but actually I didn't get certified until I moved away from Cleveland.
Got it.
Situations like you didn't know what you had until it's gone.
Yeah. Was that your first exposure to gyrotonic in her studio?
Pretty much. Yeah. So at ASU, at the time that I was going through the Pilates program, they had one gyrotonic pulley tower, and it was the balanced body model. So the oldest model that was produced by a manufacturer, not a handmade model. And it was tucked in the corner of the studio. and we saw it, and occasionally we would see people come in and work out on it, and we would ask questions about it. But Marianne and Rebecca are the two master teachers, Pilates master teachers that were taking us through the program. So we'd be like, Marianne, what is that? Rebecca, when are we going to get on that? And they would be like, don't worry about that yet. You're here for Pilates. You can get to that later. So I had an awareness of it. And that was definitely something that Lisa asked me when I interviewed for her. She was like, have you ever heard of Gyrotonic? Are you familiar with it? And I was like, well, I've seen the machines and I've seen people work out on them, but I've never done it. And she was like, well, great, we'll show you. And so Lisa was always very generous and like teaching me things and showing me things and letting us drop into class and things like that during that time. So Lisa was really the person who exposed me to Gyrotonic fully.
Got it. Now, that was 2007-ish, 2008?
That was in September of 2007 when I started working at Lisa's studio.
Okay, and then what led to then you wanting to become a Gyrotonic instructor? What was that story that kind of led to that?
Yeah.
Knowing you missed the boat that first time.
Yeah, so you kind of have to fast forward in the timeline a little bit. So we were living in Cleveland. We got married in 2008. And then I had my first son in 2009. And then got immediately pregnant again and was pregnant with our second son. And at that point, it was becoming very evident that I wanted to be at home. Wilmington is actually my hometown. All the people that I work with can't believe that I'm a local, but I am a local. I am from here. And I just wanted to be at home with my mom and my parents and just be closer to family. So we moved away in 2010, right before my son was born. No. He was born. Then we moved home in 2011. So shortly after he was born, we moved here in 2011. And I could not get a job. Teaching Pilates. I mean, I called every studio, I knocked on every door, and nobody wanted a Pilates teacher. And I ended up going back to this gym, like a traditional big box gym, and just being like, please hire me, please hire me, please hire me. I need a job. I got to get a job. And I think I just annoyed them so much that they were like, fine, you can, you can be here. So I taught there at the big box gym for a little over 2 years before one of my friends moved to town and opened up a legit Pilates studio, which is honestly my ideal setting, right? I didn't love teaching in the big box gym. So I left the big box gym and I went to her studio, and I taught there, and she and I were having a conversation one day about Gyrotonic. And I was like, I love Gyrotonic. I miss it. I just want to do it. Like, I would love to be able to teach it, but as you know, you have to have the equipment, and there was no equipment in Wilmington, and you can't just go buy one. You have to be certified in the work usually to get one. Or you can buy one from headquarters and sign some special paperwork, I think. But it just seemed like this pipe dream. Like it's not going to happen for me. Like, because there were all these hurdles to get certified in Gyrotonic. And then about a week or two later, Ashley, the owner of the studio, was like, you are not going to believe this email that I just got. And she sent me the email, and it was somebody that was moving to Wilmington and wanted to put her Gyrotonic pulley tower in her studio. She needed a place for it to go. And so Ashley was like, yes, as a matter of fact, Emily really wants to get certified in this work, and we didn't know how to get this done because we didn't have a pulley tower. So yes, please come. And that was Susan Maravitz. So okay. Susan was my angel that fell out of the sky with her pulley tower and dropped it in Wilmington for me. And she got me ready for certification. And then I traveled to Charlotte for all of my coursework.
Okay.
Because there is a master trainer in Charlotte, and she was doing it over the weekends. So I could go up there for the weekend and then come back home. But it wasn't easy. It was tough. It was hard. I had very young kids. I was traveling and being gone for 3-4 days at a time, not working. My husband was working night shifts. Like, you have to really love it to do it, because it's not an easy process to get certified.
Yeah, it's definitely a big sacrifice of time and effort and money. I took the foundation twice, and 12 days of like not seeing patients, when I'm used to seeing patients, and for me to take 12 days off, I feel like I should be like in Europe, traveling, not doing exercise. But both times I took those foundations, I was like, man, this is wow, I can't believe I've signed up for this. And I'm glad I've done them both times, but it was just kind of, it's a very, it was hard, because I'm used to working all the time and seeing clients. So I follow you. I understand you on that situation. So that kind of led you, like, so the in college, the hey, we need Pilates students, led to you becoming a Pilates trainer. Boom, someone moves to town, they've got a tower, they need to put it somewhere. It opened up that door for you. You did your training. All right, so now we're at this point to where like we're getting closer to 6 years ago. So tell me what kind of led from that point to opening your own business 6 years ago.
Yeah, so the studio that I was teaching in at the time, it was really unfortunate, and there's no like hard feelings or about what happened there, but it was becoming very obvious that studio was kind of a sinking ship, and it was probably going to fold. And it was one of those situations where I was like, I gotta jump before the ship sinks, and the only other option for me is I got to open up my own place. Like, there's nowhere else for me to go. So me opening up my own place was really out of necessity. Like, I had no other choice. If I wanted to keep teaching and I wanted to keep working with my clients, then I kind of got a big shove into studio ownership, if you will. And so I started off in a very small 500 square foot space above a gift shop. And I was fortunate that I had been teaching in Wilmington for several years at that point. So I already had a good base of clientele. People already knew who I was, and they were referring people to me. So it was okay that I was in that little 500 square foot space above a gift shop, because there was no visibility. There was like no signage. And if you were coming to see me, it's because you called me and I gave you directions. Like, it was a hole in the wall place. But I had to start there because, I mean, as you know, this equipment is big and it's expensive.
Yeah.
And if it was just going to be me taking on that equipment loan, I needed to start small and then gradually build. So that was about 3 years ago. No, I was in that space for 2.5 years, and then I grew and moved into the space that I'm sitting in now, which is larger, and I have more pieces, and I'm able to offer group classes now where I wasn't before.
Got it. Now, when you first were in that 500 square foot space, what was the first piece of equipment you bought? Was it a tower? Was it a Pilates piece? What did you buy? And did you go one way versus the other, or were you embracing both systems? Tell me a little bit about that.
I will always teach Pilates. Like, it is my first love, and I will never not teach it. Like, it's part of who I am. It's a foundation of who I am as a movement teacher. And so there was no way that I could abandon Pilates. I don't think I ever could. So I bought 2 reformer tower combination pieces. I bought 2 Wunda chairs because I personally love the Wunda chair. That's one of my favorite pieces of Pilates apparatus. And then I had the gyrotonic tower that was Susan's. Susan sold me hers.
Got it.
Because she's my angel. She sold me her tower, and then I bought a new Ultima from headquarters, gyrotonic headquarters. So I had 2 gyropulley towers, 2 Pilates reformers, and 2 Wunda chairs. And then eventually I added the JSB, the jumping stretching board. And at that point, that 500 square foot space was filled up. You could not fit anything else.
Yeah, you could probably barely move the benches to do work on the towers. Right?
You had to get creative.
Yeah. You became a furniture mover all day, So, well, I love that. And then so about 2.5 years in your first space, and then you moved into your current space. And so tell me a little bit about how your current space has grown from that equipment to what you have now.
Oh man. So the last 3 years it's been tough. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a journey. So I moved into this space with, the hope and the dream and the vision that I was going to bring in gyrotonic master trainers. We were going to help, grow gyrotonic here in Wilmington. And I knew that the only way I could do that is to get other teachers certified. And I'm not a gyrotonic master trainer. So that means I have to bring people in to conduct workshops. And, it's hard when, nobody really knows what gyrotonic is. And the certification process is lengthy. It's arduous. Master trainers. I mean, I do not fault master trainers for this. I know your wife is one of them, but they usually have minimum requirements. Like, they need a minimum number of participants to commit to make it worth their while. And that's totally understandable. So trying to, get it out there, get people excited about it, get them to commit. Like, it's a lot of time and it's a lot of energy. And then coordinating everybody with the scheduling, scheduling is always a nightmare. I always tell people teaching isn't the hard part. It's the scheduling. Yeah. It's the scheduling. So, going through all of that. And at the end of it, when it was all said and done, I do have one other person who teaches here at the studio, but she has a full-time job. So she helps me out on the weekends and on the evenings. And that's really helpful. But for all of the time and the energy and the money that was spent and trying to build up teachers here at the studio, it really didn't produce what I had hoped for. And so I'm at a place right now where I'm like, damn, I invested in more equipment and higher rent and the last 3 years of trying to get to what I envisioned and, just really didn't hit that target. But with everything that's going on right now in the world with the pandemic, I'm trying to see the flip side of that. So the flip side of that now is having a larger space and still being able to maintain it on my own with the private clients. People feel really safe coming in here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I don't have a bunch of teachers who are on top of each other, working side by side, feeling really claustrophobic. I mean, it's just me and my person, and we've got 1,200 square foot of space. And people really appreciate that. So I think okay, well, if I had actually hit that goal that I had for myself, being where we are now in this industry could have actually caused me more problems. So
I see, and I get that because we've lost quite a few of our staff through this process, just based on not wanting to come back, whether or not they're making more from unemployment or because they just don't want to be at a studio that's big and has a lot of people. Even though we're back open, we're still slow. Things are slowly ramping up, but it's still very slow. And so I always think that some of their perceptions of how busy it really is and what their perceptions of what it used to be, those things are two different worlds right now. And so it's been interesting. So we've gone from a staff of 10 to we're down to 6 right now, from COVID, and none of us are really busy. We're getting busier, but we're not as busy. Nothing like we were pre this. So I hear that as well. And we just expanded not too long ago and took over an extra 1,000 square feet so that we would have a designated gyro studio and a designated Pilates studio and just have space. And that's been it's been the double-edged sword for us for that. One, we had to pay more rent and we could afford it, and now we're we may not can truly afford this extra space, but it actually allows us to have all the equipment 6 feet apart. So we're very much socially distanced now. So like we have, yeah. So we do have 2 people in a duet, or we've had up to 3 people in a class a couple times. They're socially distanced and they're more than 6 feet apart. So now we have to determine, all right, is it worth keeping this space for the people that are coming in and paying that price, or do we need a little less space so that we just are offering more privates and less classes? Because we were up to about 25, 28 classes a week pre-COVID, and that was a big chunk of, like, I was able to pay the rent, and the people that are on monthly memberships paid the vast majority of our rent, and now those memberships just went away. So it's been an interesting shift. So we're at that place where, like, we have space, so it allows us to socially distance. When people come in, they're like, oh wow, this doesn't feel like they were expecting it. And again, they're seeing that it's not busy like it was in the past. Every once in a while, like, I might have a patient in my room, Andy might have a patient in his room, the other therapist that works with us, Cheryl might be seeing someone in the gyro studio, which is up front, and then someone else might be in the back seeing someone there. So there might be 4 of us working, but we're all in our own space. We're all very isolated from each other. And whereas in the past we might have had all 6 or 7 people, we would have up to 6 or 7 people working at a time, where it was just a zoo in here. That's not happening right now, and rightfully so. We don't want that happening right now. So there's that fine balance, right? Like, I got to be able to pay my rent, but we also are very cautious and concerned about what the heck's going on out there, and we got to take all of that into account. So, but so it's an interesting story. It's very, very, very. You mentioned the master trainers needing a certain number of patients, or a certain number of students. Excuse me. That's kind of what happened to me. I had zero intentions of getting gyro certified. I actually didn't. I thought it was kind of silly. And watching Cheryl do it, I didn't get it. Slowly, I was playing around with the machine whenever she wasn't looking. I would never let her see me. No, I wouldn't let her know I was playing around with it. And I was starting to kind of like some of the things that I was just playing around with on my own, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about what she was teaching. And she's bringing in a master trainer from California, because we'd moved here from California. And same thing. Boom. We got 2 towers now, but she's the only person in town that teaches it. No one else in town teaches. So how do we get teachers? All right, we'll bring someone in. So we brought someone in, and we had 5 people sign up, and she needed 6. So she wasn't coming unless we had 6 people. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. And she was like, I need you to do this for me. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I can't give up 12 days of work, Like, how much money I'm going to lose from not seeing patients for 12 days? I mean, like, that's thousands of dollars, like, lost that, and she's just like, yeah, but think about the 2 or 3 trainers we're going to get out of this, and the thousands of dollars we're going to make per month off of each of them. I'm like, all right. So again, that business, I wasn't doing it for Cheryl anymore. I was doing it for our business. I was doing it for the greater good. And I did, and I kind of resisted it, but I did it. But I ended up liking it. But the reason I ended up liking it, it wasn't from a master trainer, because she was too artsy, and she's a great trainer, but she was too artsy for my analytical brain at that time. And we didn't mix. And then Donna Place came to town to do one of the apprentice reviews, and she's like, hey, you need to go take the classes with Paul and Uwe. And they're physical, Julia's brother's a physical therapist. Go study with him. And I went and took their 3 classes, like, back to back to back in Miami, really right before I actually got certified. They made a special arrangement for me to take them before I finished my certification. And that's what really got me excited, because then all of a sudden they taught me how to take it and apply it to my world. And they taught me how to apply it to every one of my patients. And that was a big, big shift. So, like, I really didn't like it after 12 days of foundation. I started liking it after Place. Donna was able to talk to me in a way that made sense to my brain. But then it was really studying with, and at that time it was Paul and Uwe. They were teaching together, where now they're doing them separately. But this was probably 2008, maybe 2009. I'm not exactly sure. But that was the shift for me, that I was like, all right, I get this. And it was really fun. And for me being a PT, again, no one knows what gyrotonic is, just like you were mentioning earlier. So no one could no one could care. They could care less that I was trained in that. But me being a PT that was trained in Pilates, that became marketable. That became something that people understood, people knew. So I always say that, like, the three things that I do, physical therapy, Pilates, and gyrotonic, guess what? No one knows what physical therapy is either. No one knows what gyrotonic is. More people know what Pilates is in the general population than physical therapy. Because what I do for physical therapy as a back pain specialist, most people relate to like chiropractors or massage therapists. People go see everybody before they'll come see a PT for back pain. People think I teach people how to walk with a walker after surgery, and I don't even have a walker in my office because I don't see those kind of patients. It's just not what I do. So the point of that is, when you mentioned knowing that very few people know what gyrotonic is, and that's a hard thing to market. We learned a long time ago, physical therapy is not an easy thing to market either. Pilates is easier out of the three, but really we try to put the message out that we're transforming people and changing lives, and we're creating this is something they can't do, and we're getting them to across the bridge of what they can do. And that's the message that people relate with, because they don't really care if it's physical therapy, Pilates, or gyrotonic, or yoga, or what. They don't really care what the vehicle is. They just want to feel better. At least that's from my experience. But again, I'm a medical practitioner first, and then a Pilates and gyrotonic teacher second. And I love that combination and that mix. So now, with that said, let me ask you, since you've opened your business, you've been in business now for 6 years, what are some of the things that you do to get clients? I know when you originally opened, you already had a clientele, people that already knew you. What are some of the things that you find are helpful? And this may be a pre-COVID and a post-COVID answer. You can go either direction you want, but what's the best way to find people right now?
Okay, so like I had said before, I kind of got shoved into studio ownership without any kind of business acumen or anything like that. So everything that I've learned, I've had to learn on the fly, or because of doing tons and tons of research and all of that. And I've sort of, over the last, like 2 years, just really dorked out over all things marketing. I think it's really fascinating work. It's super interesting to me, like the psychology of why people buy, when they buy, how they buy, to copywriting, to how you pick out your color schemes and how the color schemes affect people when they see your ads and things like that. So I do love a Facebook ad. I have to say, I'm a huge fan of Facebook advertising. It's done really great things for me. Now, I haven't run a Facebook ad in a while because of everything that is going on right now. But that doesn't mean that I'm not like writing out my copy for my future ads. Like, so as soon as I can pull the trigger, I can put out a Facebook ad. Yeah. I really love, I don't know if you know who Donald Miller is.
I don't think so.
So Donald Miller, he's a writer and helps people with their marketing. And he wrote this book called Story Brand. Okay. And he just recently came out with a new book. I think it's called Marketing Made Simple. And it follows the Story Brand framework. But it kind of, when you were talking earlier, it made me think of Donald Miller, because the way that he explains marketing and the way that you need to draw in your ideal client is you have to be, you are not the hero. That person, your client, is the hero of their own story. And so often where we make mistakes in our marketing is we position ourselves as the hero. We position Pilates, gyrotonic, my studio, look at all these great things that we do. And it's like, nobody cares. All they want to know is, can you help me with my back pain? Yes. So all that other stuff gets totally left out. So it's just so clear and it's so easy to understand that model. And so I've really seen a lot of success with the Story Brand framework. Mm-hmm. And actually working at one point, I did hire a professional copywriter who was familiar with the Story Brand framework. And she and I spent about an hour on the phone with each other. She was learning about what I do and clientele that I serve. And what are some of their typical problems and how do I solve them and all this. And working with a professional copywriter, I can't recommend that enough. You find a good one, they're worth the money. It's worth the investment because they can say things in a way that you would never think to say.
Yeah.
So I think when you are at that point, wherever you are in the world right now, wherever you are in the country right now, every state is different when it comes to opening up your studios and when you're allowed to do so, how you're allowed to do so. But I would highly recommend, go get that book, do the story brand framework worksheet. It's free. It will really help you get clear. If you have a little extra cash, maybe get a copywriter to come alongside you and take some beautiful pictures on your iPhone, get a client testimonial here or there. And there's probably hundreds of thousands of YouTube videos on how to put a Facebook ad together. And I think you'll be surprised at how successful those can be.
And Facebook ads are cheaper now than they've ever been since the pandemic. So we stopped running ads for about a month when we weren't really sure what and how to do them. And then we went, and as a PT, I was able to open anytime I can pull the I'm Essential card and I can be open when I want to be open. I closed down for 7 weeks because I couldn't find cleaning supplies. So I shut it down because I couldn't keep myself or people safe. So if I didn't have gloves, masks, or cleaners, then I had to shut it down, even though I didn't want to shut it down. Now we were shutting down our Pilates studio. That was going to be shut down regardless. But again, it was the same thing. I would have stayed open through that process, but just couldn't. But in the meantime, once we figured out, and once I got my gloves and we started getting things going, and we started telehealth and virtual immediately, we started running an ad that was for a back pain challenge. And so instead of running an ad saying, hey, come see us, because people are scared, people aren't really ready to come in. So we created a digital product first that was really just repurposing a bunch of stuff that we already have, a bunch of videos and blogs and homework that we already send to people. And we made about 4 or 5 videos that we had to do this, but we made a 2-week back pain challenge and we sold it for pretty inexpensive. It was like $40, and we didn't get a lot of hits. We got about 6 people to sign up for it, but it was something in that first month. I didn't spend because ads were so cheap. I ran the ad for a week, didn't spend but about $50 on it, and got 6 people to sign up at $40 a pop. And it took about 2 hours of time to put the content together because it was mostly repurposed. And then we put that in a way that these people were able to, every day they got a text message with, here's your video, educational video for the day. Here's your action step for the day. And we did that for 2 weeks. And that was something where we got a lot of people that, even if they didn't sign up for it, they clicked on the ad, they checked it out. And then we reran the retargeting ad. When we ran that same back pain challenge again, we retargeted all those same people that had clicked on it and seen it and whatnot. But we've been able to get some people that way where it's already done, everything's set up. We just have to turn it on and turn it off like a faucet because it's all automated and it's all in a place. But that's been really fun. So we decided to try a really different method because we've never tried any online virtual stuff. It's always trying to get people in our doors. And then by getting people into these virtual online memberships, we're now hitting them up and retargeting them and emailing them with all of our other services, whether it's a virtual PT, a virtual Pilates session, pay for our membership to have access to all of our videos on demand. So we can, if you want to come in, we're here for you. If you're not ready to come in, we got these options to meet you where you're at. And that's what we've really focused on the last, 3 months or however long it's been now for the shutdowns and craziness is trying to pivot to that. And it's been really fun. But I agree, Facebook ads are the best way that we've got people in the door, especially with me. We've been open for 15 years, so there's a lot of people that know Cheryl and I, but my new PT, my new trainers, those people don't know them. So we run our ads showcasing them. We don't run our ads showcasing me and Cheryl, because when people call or are reaching out through Facebook, we want them reaching out and wanting to be seen by not us. So that's something that we found that it's really helpful is Andy, the PT that works with me, by having him put a message out, him put that in, then when all the new people that come in through Facebook, they're going straight to him. And we've probably been getting about we probably got about 12 new patients over June that were from Facebook that came in for PT, and we're giving a big discounted session. So the first session is like $45 instead of $225. And
Wow.
in that ad, yeah, so it's a big discount, but it also lets them know that we're expensive. There's a reason we're putting it's back to copywriting, right? We're putting that ad out to let them know that this is a cheap version, but they know right away that it's an expensive hour. Right. So we're not getting the group hunters because the group hunt folks are really looking for a deal and they're never coming back. So we're very, very clear with our message that we're talking to people that can afford to come in after they pay that discount. And that's been very interesting by offering a discount voucher that they have a certain amount of time to use and that's retargeting people that have known us for years. That's how we've got about 10 or 12 people back on the book that fell off the book in the last 6 months. So that's what we found is like getting people in the door, having your message very clear. Because if someone comes in and pays $45 and then you're like, yeah, the next session's $225, they're out the door. But if you very clearly paint that picture in your messaging and the things you're talking about that they want to get back to, our message is, do you want to get back to playing tennis? And it's not really I'm not going to say it's really getting back to tennis at the country club, but it's pretty much saying, are you ready to get back to playing tennis at the country club? Because that's our ideal client. And that's who we serve really close to us. So those people that come in, again, they're ready to rock and roll for a longer plan, and they're more willing to shell out $1,000 treatment plan to come in for 5 sessions, knowing that we've walked them slowly across this bridge instead of just sending them an ad saying, hey, come try Pilates, come try PT, we're the best in town. Again, we got to leave our ego at the door and make it the story about them. And everything you were saying about the story about them, if we make it about us, and I think there's a lot of Pilates and gyrotonic people that make it about them, that hurts our marketing, that hurts our system, that makes it hard for us to promote it because the egos get in the way. So that's my little rant on that. I apologize for going far on that, but I think that you got me excited. So
no, I love talking about marketing. It's like I said, I just find it a really fascinating topic, and I enjoy hearing what works for other people and why did you do it that way and what did you learn from it? And sometimes I wonder, I graduated with a music therapy degree, but I'm like, should I have gone for marketing? Because I really enjoy this stuff. I really feel like it's just this very cool puzzle. And I think that that's the other thing that a lot of people in the Pilates industry forget is that it's a puzzle that you never really quite finish. And if you go ahead and you go into it with this mindset of I'm going to test this. It's going to give me some information. I'm going to tweak my copy. I'm going to pick a different picture. Maybe I need to do a video. And then you put it back out into the world and you get better results. Okay, well, that gave you some information. How are you going to tweak it again as you move forward? It's this ever evolving thing that you're going to play with and test and fail and have successes with. And it's going to change. And that to me is fun and that's exciting. But I think what happens so much is that, our marketing budget is precious. We only have so many dollars to spend on marketing. And it can feel very deflating when you spent the hour or 2 hours building out your Facebook ad and you put the money behind it and then it doesn't deliver on what you had hoped. Or in my case, it gets rejected. Yes, Facebook can reject your ads, and that's very normal, very common thing. So we automatically think, well, I tried a Facebook ad and it didn't work, so I never did it again. And they just throw in the towel on it. That's what I see over and over and over again. Instead of let's change our mindset around this. It's not a one shot. It's not a one shot and success abounds. That's why, major companies have whole marketing departments to do this for them. So give yourself a little bit of a break. We're all figuring it out.
That's right. If you're going to do a Facebook ad and you don't have systems in place on how you're going to actually deal with leads, you're going to get confused and lose those leads because running a Facebook ad for me, it's, yeah, people will sign up and do stuff, but some people, it'll be a conversation starter that takes 6 months, 8 months to get them in the door.
Yeah.
So someone signs up for something with me, we put them in the system to where they're going to be nurtured and emails, and they're going to get stuff. So I'm a big believer in, yeah, marketing is super important, but once you actually pay and get that lead, they may not be ready to do business with you. So you got to be ready to keep showing up and keep showing up and keep showing up. Because if you show up once, it's not enough. If you show up 6 or 7 times, you got a much better chance. And that's like simple things like making sure your website has a pixel on it and your Facebook page is linked to that. So you can, anyone that goes to your website, when they go to Facebook, you run a retargeting ad with that pixel so that you're going to show up on their feed for the next 6 months. And maybe it's 3 months now. It might have changed, but it's a scenario where you're going to keep showing up to where eventually they're like, oh yeah, that's that website I went to. And people love to ask me, how is it that I went to your website and then within 10 minutes you were showing up on Google, you were showing up here? How did you do that? And I said, well, I can explain it to you if you would like. But it's kind of technical and nerdy, and it's not that exciting. But that's the kind of stuff that I found is very important, because Facebook ads for me is a touch point, but for every person that touch it, they're not ready to act. And we certainly get people that are ready to act. But here's the deal with, again, this is just with me searching for people in back pain. Like we're throwing out the net for people hoping that that's what they're suffering from and searching for, versus on Google, they're typing in exactly what they want. So the people that find me from Google, they're a much hotter lead and they're much easier to transition to an appointment. The people on Facebook, hey, yeah, you opted in for our back pain challenge last night at 3 a.m. I don't even remember doing that. I didn't give you my email address or my phone number. Dude, I wouldn't have called you if I didn't have your phone number. You gave it to me last night. But they don't even remember that, because they're clicking on so many things that they like, and maybe they hit apply and maybe they meant to hit close it out. But I find that for every Facebook lead I get, they're not great leads. Some of them, they might be a lead that's going to take me, again, 3, 6, 9 months to get them in the door. And I'll tell you a quick story about a lady. She came in to see one of my gyro trainers, probably a few, I don't know, probably right before COVID hit. I'm going to grab my plug real quick. I'm about to run out of battery. And she came in and worked with one of my trainers. And my front desk guy was like, man, I've been calling her and leaving messages for 9 months. And I said, well, Jace, you know what else has been happening is she's been getting emails. She's been getting texts that have been happening automatically. Like, so you've been doing that, but other stuff has been happening automatically. Well, 6 months later, oops, wrong button. 6 months later, 8 months later, she's coming in and she's a patient. And both my front desk guy and the trainer were like, they couldn't believe that it took her this amount of time to pull that trigger, and paying $85 for a training session, So this was someone that reached out to us. We had a conversation with them. Then nothing. We're calling, leaving messages, texting. But again, all those, we're hitting them in so many ways. The emails are happening automatically. The texts are happening. The phone calls are happening. And then one day, guess what? She was ready to do business with us. And when she was ready, she signed up for 3 times a week. She didn't sign up for just once every few weeks. She was ready. But again, we continued to show up and we continued to be there. And if it was up to me to do all that, I couldn't do it. So I've systemized it as much as possible, because that makes my life much easier. And it also, I have help with a front desk person that can be there calling. So if we get an opt-in on Facebook, now we should be calling them within an hour of that original opt-in. Doesn't always happen that way, but that's kind of the hope. So again, I love Facebook ads as well. And I think they're super important. But I also think that if you don't have your systems in place, and if you're not organized enough to keep, and I'm not organized enough, why I set up systems. I can follow instructions, set up systems, but I'm not very organized when it comes to doing things. But systems make it much easier for me and for my staff, so that anyone can go follow up with this person and it's all organized of like, oh, did so-and-so get reached out to again? So that's where it gets a little bit tough. But I agree, Facebook ads are something that we've had great success with. At times we've had no success with it. And then there became a time where I stopped running them for a whole year just because we were busy. And then all of a sudden I would bring in a new therapist or bring in new staff. And then I'm like, all right, let's run some ads to try to stimulate getting them busy. And it's an interesting process, but I love the strategies. The like, what are you doing? Like, what does your ad say? Are you just saying book now? Are you just saying call me? Are you saying, hey, this is a story of how I've helped this person? Again, what's the strategy to get someone to take that action? And those are the fun things. So maybe you and I should do a call in the future where we just kind of talk about, we just go dive deep into marketing, because now that we both know we're nerdy about marketing, we could make a whole marketing podcast, because again, so much to talk about. Now I'll tell you a quick story, funny story, and then we'll wrap it up pretty quickly. Cheryl went to college and has a marketing degree. And has never done it ever. She worked for back in a long time ago. Her first job had like a real marketing degree, a marketing job. When she moved to California, she worked as really kind of like a paralegal in a law office for Universal Studios. So she was kind of like she wasn't really a trained paralegal, but she was really doing paralegal type work. And she liked that because it was just following simple instructions. She hated marketing. And then all of a sudden we open a business together, and I'm the one that starts taking all the marketing classes, and I start studying marketing and, learning from all these people. And I start asking her questions, and she goes, I don't remember anything about marketing. And marketing 25 years ago is totally different than it is now. So I'm the one with a dang biology degree, physical therapy degree, and I'm the one in charge of marketing. She's the one with a marketing degree, and she's in charge of the numbers. So she handles the financial side of the business. So it's really funny because she didn't learn anything about finances and marketing, and I didn't learn anything about marketing in my science background. But as we run our business, we've kind of found the things that match what we like. Whereas she would have never taken the marketing courses that I took. And if I wouldn't have taken those marketing courses, our business would have struggled, because I took insurance for about a decade, and then I stopped taking insurance. So when I went to no longer taking insurance, I needed a way to get my message out. And why? When I took insurance, people called, do you take my insurance? Yes, I do. They came in. It was simple to get people in the door. Do you take my insurance? No, I do not. That became a hard conversation to have. So I needed to learn how to have that conversation instead of just saying, no, I don't take your insurance. Because if you say, no, you don't take your insurance, you're done. The conversation's over. And people are used to paying for PT with their insurance. They're not used to paying out of pocket. It's still a foreign concept. So when I learned to market and I learned to put my systems in place, that was my whole mission, was how do I get away from relying on insurance, relying on the system that I think is failing, relying on the governmental insurance that was completely not working. So I'm like, how do I get away from that and quit talking to, yes, I take your insurance, and I'm taking all kind of patients in my door that are not my ideal client. The only thing they just have the same insurance I take. Like, I take their insurance. That's it. That's the only thing that's a match. Well, now, if you're not a match for me, you're not paying me my fees. And I'm willing to spend time nurturing you for a year for you to pay me those fees. I'm willing to give you some free time, having a free assessment to walk through those goals so that I can help you understand what the reason I don't take insurance and how we can get you well. And actually insurance usually gets in the way of getting you well. But those are conversations that I need to have with someone once they start to trust and I've earned their trust. And that doesn't happen on that first phone call, and it just never will. So I love it. So now you got my blood boiling and pumped, and I'm all excited thinking about marketing. So we'll do another conversation about we'll jump into marketing and things that are working, things that are not working, tips and tricks. And I love that, because not everyone is that interested in this stuff.
I know.
But it's a very important piece of the pie. And again, I've done a lot of stuff that's worked, and I've done a lot of stuff that hasn't worked. And to be honest with you, if I didn't do the stuff that didn't work, I would have never found the stuff that worked. So you got to kind of keep doing and learning and testing and making it work. So let me ask you, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you? And I've just put your email or website to flash on the bottom of the screen.
Okay, yeah. The website is the studio website, which is enjoymovementstudio.com. That's enjoy with an INJOY, Movement Studio. And then on Instagram, at Enjoy Movement Studio. That is the, that's kind of like my catch-all Instagram. I know they say that you should have an Instagram for your business, an Instagram for this, and an Instagram for that. But I have it all in one place. So, you'll see studio stuff at Enjoy Movement Studio. You'll see me riding horses. You'll see me singing with my husband. You'll see, stuff about my podcast. I also have a podcast. So you'll see stuff like that. Things about business related things as well as teaching tips. So it's all on Instagram. That's probably my favorite place to hang out.
Got it. Have you ever ran ads on Instagram?
In correlation with Facebook, they're owned by the same company. So when you go and you build it, it shows you what this looks like in Instagram. This is what it looks like in Facebook. This is what it looks like in stories. And you just, make your changes as needed. So I have run things through Instagram. I don't know if I've gotten any clients through my Instagram ads, but I've definitely had some good conversations with people and sent people in the right direction to find somebody close to them who teaches gyro, or pointing them in the right direction, giving them something that they can do at home because they can't get to me. I love Instagram. I love chatting with people. So reach out. I don't have, like, as you heard me say before, I don't have a fancy marketing team. So if you reach out, you're going to get me. There's nobody else.
I love it. Well, Emily, it sure was fun. And again, I just want to let everyone know this is the very first time Emily and I have ever had a conversation. We've had a few interactions over Instagram. I'm sorry, over Facebook Messenger. About a year ago or so, we started a conversation, and then kind of I fell off of that and didn't get back to you. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, you popped into my head, and here we are. Within a week of that conversation, we're having an hour conversation to discuss business. But I love that. I'm only saying this because I think it's fascinating that we're in this time where, like, you and I we don't know each other. We know of each other. I've been able to see your site. You and I are Facebook friends. I've seen you riding horses. I've heard you sing. All the things you just mentioned, I know about from watching your stuff. But at the same time, we've never had a conversation. We've never sat down and discussed anything at all. And I love that we're in a place now. And COVID is, I think, making this easier for people to sit down and have a video conversation through the screen and really continue to form relationships with people all over the country, all over the world. It doesn't matter. I used to market to people 5 miles around my business. And now I'm starting to open that up into everywhere because of all our products are going digital as well as in person. So we're just in a totally different world. And I love that within an hour's time, we have a lot of common things. We have a lot of things that we've gone through in our history, our business growth that are similar, things that are different, of course, but things that are similar. And I love just listening to the story, because what I know of you and what I now know of you, what I knew of you prior to our conversation and what I now know of you after our conversation, it brings a whole new light on things. It brings a whole new line of questions that I want to go through and talk about marketing. So with that said, I really want to thank you for your time. Again, I know it's a great gift to give your time away and just come on and have a conversation. And I really appreciate that. And have a fantastic day, and we will do this again.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. Thank you so much for thinking about me and asking me to come on. It was a pleasure.
Yes, and definitely. We'll do it again, and you have a good one, and stay out of trouble there. All righty.
All right.
For everyone watching, thanks for watching, and we'll be back with a podcast real soon, guys. Y'all take care. Bye now. Well, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And if you did, could you do us a favor and leave some love and write us a review? My name is Stephen Dunn. I help physical therapists incorporate Pilates into their physical therapy practice. If you would like more information on how you can incorporate Pilates into your physical therapy practice, then like my Facebook page, Pilates for PTs.